huge weekend for you at One Raceway, man. I think you still be smiling from that one, I'll bet.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it's been a while since I've had a round win, so I haven't had one all
Uh,
year, I don't think. So yeah, to get a round win there was pretty exciting. Yeah, heading into the weekend was like, I suppose, a little bit of an unknown because the track's still a little bit fresh to everyone, seeing as
mm,
they changed the layout. We rode on it last year, but I don't think there was a whole lot of testing done since last year to this year.
yeah.
Um, and so you sort of don't really know for sure how it's going to pan out. But yeah, look, like I was pretty strong, well, strong right from the beginning.
Mm.
Had a lot of speed straight away and continue that over the weekend. But yeah, from a Yamaha point of view, like all the Yamis were quite quick there. Um, yeah,
Well, it
definitely stood
showed
out.
on, during the race, and it's just, the pecking order was blue, 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 and then, the reds,
Yeah.
fifth, sixth kind of thing.
Mm,
Did you, well, actually, from memory now, last year, the Yamahas, and you were quite strong last
mm.
year as well. Is there an expectation that that track kind of suits the Yamaha performance rather than the Ducatis?
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. I mean, like, it's just the nature of the track. It's a little bit like Morgan Park, it's just very, very technical in terms of there's a lot of corners and a lot of change of direction, and yeah, not a whole lot in the way of acceleration and straight line stuff. So that's sort of the part where the Yamaha excels. Is it's really good in the turns, and I think that suits my riding style as well. Like I
Yeah.
like the layout there and everything. Yeah. So I guess heading into the weekend, yeah, we're sort of hoping that that'd be the case. But there's been rounds like the ones at Queensland Raceway where we sort of went there thinking that would be quite competitive, and then potentially thinking that we'd end up with two race wins. But Josh and the team stepped up there, so
Mm.
we were a bit uncertain, I suppose, in that sense as to how much Josh will have stepped up at One Raceway, but yeah, it didn't seem to come.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, that's probably his, I think that would be his worst performance of the year.
Mm, mm.
If you just look at straight results, the races, the best part of the whole weekend, I guess. Let's look at it race by race because they were slightly different, those two races. So in race one, obviously he kicked off in pole. Cameron Dunker actually led. Man, he was riding, brilliantly. But he passed him and went into the lead at lap 10 of, I think it was an 18 lap race or something. The interesting part about that whole race is, and I noticed that your corner entry speed was much higher. You were catching on the entries in most of those corners, but we we had Ant West. I think he qualified sixth. And oh my God, he was on a mission to get past all the Ducatis, and yeah, it was interesting to watch him. Particularly some of his lines, like through that bowl onto the main straight. But then what I did notice, Cameron Dunker was not that far behind you through the majority of the race until about lap 16, and then you just pulled away. Either he relaxed or you put your head down, one or the other. What was your take on that race overall?
Yeah, overall, obviously, you get the wins. The most was the most important thing. So that
Mm,
was really great. But realistically, that race just couldn't have gone any better for me. Like
mm,
it panned out like perfectly how I'd like that race to have gone. So yeah, started really well. Like I said, Cam got to the lead right from I think from the first corner. He was in the
mm,
lead and I was in second. And like the race is 20 laps around there. It's a lot. It's a lot of. Although the time's still the same as when when we race everywhere else, we might do less laps, but essentially the time that we race for is still the same. Roughly 20 minutes. Um, and so it's when you're just constantly lapping the same track over and over and over again, doing a lot of laps. Well, this track's the track where we do the most amount of laps. It's difficult to be consistent and not make mistakes, particularly when it's a very physical track like it is there at One Raceway. It's very physical, it's very hard on a super bike. So your heart rate gets up generally pretty quickly, and then you're working at full intensity for the majority of the race. So it's pretty
mm,
easy to make a mistake. So to be able to follow somebody is way easier because you don't have to concentrate as hard, I suppose. Like if you've
mm,
got somebody in front of you that's setting the pace, you can generally just focus on them, and the race goes by
Right.
quite a lot quicker. It feels like it goes by a bit quicker, So, yeah, I think I was behind him for about 10 laps, and in my mind, I was kind of thinking like, this is great. Follow Cam. I'll just try to manage my own. From a physical side, just try to be as calm and relaxed as I could. Try and keep my heart rate down, so that way, then once we got into the later stages of the races, I'd be fresh for it. And I kind of thought that uh, Cam being young and that he's at the front of the race. I don't think he's probably led a race like that for as long as that anyway. So I thought, okay, well, he's out the front, he's setting the pace. There could be a chance that he'll make a mistake at some point, especially once we get into the second half of the race. So
Mm.
it's a really difficult track to pass on. So I sort of wasn't intending to try to look for a way past. Again, like it's really hard to do that anyway. So I thought, oh, just sit in here. I'll just sit in, see how the race pans out, and ideally he'll just make a small error, and I'll just slip up the inside. And then once I'm in ahead, I'll put the head down and see how if I can get away, or see what happens with how the race pans out. And that's how it went. Cam just got a little bit wide in turn 1 and 2, and there's just enough room for me to go up the inside. And once I got in front of him, I tried to lower the pace a little bit, so just to try to put him on the limit, and that way then, see if the gap would open up, or, if at the least, if it didn't open up, try and stretch him as much as I could. And the gap was opening slowly. He did a really good job to keep pushing, and he wasn't trying to let me get away, that's for sure. He didn't just settle in for second. But at about lap 15 or 16, the gap started to open up in bigger chunks. And I think that might just be like it's physical around there. It's pretty hard going. Maybe a little bit with the tire wear, tire management, where our bike was really, really good for the tire life. Once that gap started opening up, and you're seeing on the pit board that it's, I think we're out to maybe 2 seconds or a little bit more, and you're a bit more comfortable, then you can relax a little bit. So last couple of laps, I could just take it a bit easier.
Yeah. Because I think you won by 2.4 seconds eventually, and I remember it was 4 laps from the end. He was only 0.2 behind.
Yeah. He ended up closing down some of the gaps. So, couldn't back off too much.
No, but from lap 16 onwards, where the gap kind of grew there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, he rode brilliantly, and it was pretty cool to see. You mentioned heart rate, like your heart rate gets up. Do you monitor heart rate?
So I had done in like probably like 10 years ago, I'd done some training with a heart rate on during a race weekend, and at that point my heart rate would go up to like, well, in say if I went for a run or a bicycle ride, I could get my heart rate up to like 210, over 200 beats per minute, right? And then when I was on the motorbike, I'd go into like around 190 to 200 beats per minute on the motorbike.
Yeah, wow.
So very, very, very high. But it had been ages since had done that, and I just started doing it again. And so on the weekend I ran it at One Raceway there. So that was actually really cool to do and cool to see. So right now, like if I go for a run or a bicycle ride, sort of my max heart rate's under 200, so I'm closer to say between around 190, 195 ish as a max heart rate. So on the motorbike during say the qualifying or the races, I went to about 182, 183. So quite like maybe roughly 10 beats per minute less than my max. You know what I mean? And you're there you're there for
20 minutes
like,
or something.
10, 15 minutes or something like that. So it takes just a little bit for it to creep up, but the heart rate's high.
It's interesting because the reason I asked you that is Chappie and I have been talking about it. We talked to a physiotherapist, Paul Butler in New Zealand, and he got us to get heart rate monitors, and we're going to monitor them on the bike and then bring him back, and we're going to talk about it, how that relates to riding motorbikes efficiently. But the interesting thing is, because I noticed that at Morgan Park last week, and Morgan Park, you kind of work there a little bit, particularly on a superbike. I coached a guy on an M1000RR, and he's running slicks and he races, and man, he had me working, and my heart rate came right up. And one of the problems is, when you're my age, your max heart rate is not the same as yours. It's like it's lower than that, but you feel like it's like 200 beats a minute. I thought I was going to have a coronary. It took me a while to recover. So I'm definitely going to monitor that myself and, and get some data on it. But yeah, it's interesting that you're tracking it as well. Did you see that they did that with MotoGP? They put the heart rate monitors on a few of the riders, and I remember seeing Vinales riding around at 190 beats a minute.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I mean, I think even I've seen recently Johnny Ray's done it as well.
Mm,
People starting to post a bit of their heart rate data. Um, yeah, look, I think it's just good. It's like as a rider, it's great to know where you're at on the
yeah.
track. So that way, then when you go and do, because we have such big gaps between riding, we're
Mm,
doing, running or cycling, or you're in the gym, or whatever you're doing for training, a bit of swimming, whatever. You can at least know that, okay, my heart rate's at 180, 185. I'm going to need to spend some time training there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
to get used to it, because it's hard and it's
Yeah.
not easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're trying to build that up and get better and be more efficient at that heart rate, so that when you're on the motorbike, you can.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is just concentration. I mean, when your heart rate's really
Yeah.
high, you fatigue quickly and you lose
Yeah.
concentration. You make mistakes. So you want to be able to maintain that heart rate for longer without gassing yourself and stuffing up.
It obviously didn't affect you because they referenced you as Metronomic Mike at one point. I don't know if you heard that. I think it
Yes,
was
yeah,
in the second race, cracked me up. But it was all about the accuracy and where you were putting the bike, particularly around the apexes. So
yeah.
your heart rate did not affect your concentration, my friend. That's pretty cool.
I
So
spent I spend a lot of train I let us spend a lot of time training at high heart rate, so I'm ready for it.
yeah, that's cool. And for those who, aren't familiar with it, who might be listening, it's definitely different on different bikes because I know riding the local track down here, I'll go out on the 1,000, right? It's only a small track. It's real busy on the backside, and then you kind of get it back on the straight. But come in after 10 minutes on the 1,000. Oh my God, my heart rate's right up. Then I get on the 400 and go straight out and I get a rest.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, 100%.
there's,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just
so
not the same.
I do the same I ride the R3 at the go-kart track, and I think,
Mm,
I'm lucky to hit 160 beats per minute
yeah.
on the small bike on the kart track, you know what I mean? Like, and while I was in Taiwan, I actually rode at 150 around the go-kart track there and had the heart rate. I was
Really?
flat out getting it over 110 beats per minute on that track.
That'd be
But yeah,
fun.
it's
I want to do that.
yeah, the
150.
the the bike, I think, must be to do with the speed and the
Yeah.
force, right? Like, the harder braking and the harder acceleration, and that type of thing. Obviously, it's harder
Yeah.
to change direction. Well, you work harder on a bigger bike, definitely, definitely.
And the time between the actions is smaller.
Yep,
There's
yeah,
just less time, and it's just working all the time.
no rest. Yeah, yeah.
For you, just out of interest, which track is the one that you would say is the most physical for you?
Well, yeah, it's either One Raceway or Morgan Park, but probably Morgan Park, I think, is even more
Yeah.
physical than One
Yeah.
Raceway.
Yeah.
Like, there's like no rest there. Like, this you come over the straight and you're already prepping and setting up for the first turn. You know what I mean? Come over
Yeah.
out of the last corner and come onto the
Yeah.
straight, you're already prepping and setting up for the first corner. So
Yeah.
it's really, really hard around it. And also too, I think what makes it hard is that it's so, like, the track's quite
Bumpy.
rough and bumpy.
Mm.
And like, it's just you're trying to stand up out of the seat a fair bit to
Mm.
try and let the bike work underneath you. So
Mm.
you've got everything going on there. It's pretty pretty tough going.
We noticed that last week, that, when you come into eight, as you come out of seven into eight, right
Yeah.
at the point where you kind of move your body across, it kicks you up the arse and lifts you about a foot off the seat. Holy mackerel. And I think Chappie was standing up over there, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's on a track when it's so bumpy like that, you've got to let the bike work underneath you. And if you're just
Yeah.
sitting in the seat and you got an extra, like for me, it's an extra, say, 60 kilos, but if you got, whatever, 70, 80 kilos sitting in the seat, that the bike has
Yeah.
to absorb that energy, and,
Yeah.
it's not as good for it, I
Well, you just made me feel good with Morgan Park being a tough one, hence my heart rate being
think.
on. I was starting to worry.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Um,
definitely, definitely.
anyway, race one. So the finish of race one is you had a win. Cameron Dunker second, 2.4 seconds behind. And then Troy Herfoss third, 5.5 seconds behind. Ant West fourth. And Josh came in fifth. So that gave you some valuable points over Josh, which you'd missed out on the week before. We go to race two. Race two, interesting because it was similar to last year. You had a similar situation last year. The you led from the beginning, like you kind of had a whole shot, but then Dunker passed you real early. Um, Ant West had a poor start, but basically, now what happened here? There was a crash at lap 8. I think Jack Favell had a big get off, and they red flagged it. And the restart, because Cam was in front of you, he was actually from the restart, he was in first, and then you were in second. And the restart, how did it begin? It was a funny one because Herfoss and Waters, no, it was two of them. It was definitely Josh Waters and someone else.
And
They
Duncan.
led. They got a big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then they ran wide.
Yeah.
And then you and Herfoss kind of passed and got through, and that was within the first couple of turns. Lap 2, you got into the lead. Ant West got up to third, and at some point, Cameron Dunker was super close to you. I think on lap 7, I had a look, and it was 0.12 behind. But it was a two-part race, kind of split in the middle. The difference between this one and last year, because I think you had a red flag last year, is what you didn't. It wasn't a muck up on your tire warming. I remember last time you go into the pits and then you had to go out and then you didn't get the tire warming that you got. But this year you didn't make that mistake, and then you end up cleaning up on the race. So what was your take on that two-part race?
Yeah, I wasn't making that mistake again, that's for sure.
I'll bet.
Well, the first part of the race started the same as the previous one, like
Mm,
except I actually got the whole shot into the first turn, but
mm,
Cam made a really good pass on me only halfway into the lap, and went to the lead. He was super keen to lead
mm,
again, and then it was the same as the first race. Just sat in behind him, thinking, "Yep, it's all good." And I actually, just before the red flag came out, I passed Cam,
that's right.
going into going in sort of into that last section of turns.
That was on the ninth
And
lap.
yeah, and then the red flag came out. So yeah, I sort of was gonna. It was for me. It was going to be the same plan again. But yeah, had the red flag, so stopped up on the grid, restarted in second place because I think they go back a lap. Cam was in
Yeah.
the lead, prior to the red flag coming out. So started in second. Yeah, and on the restart, Cam and Josh got really good starts, but yeah, ended up a little bit wide in the first, sort of, well, the third corner technically.
Yeah.
Ended up a little bit wide there, and Herfoss and I up the inside there. Herfoss was actually ahead of me. He got a bit better
Mm,
start than what I did, so he's ahead. But I made sure, well, the opportunity came up to get back past him again, similar sort of, halfway through that first lap, I got to the lead, and yeah, just because it was only a 10-lap restart, wasn't so much of a worry about tire life, and even from a physical point of view, 10 laps sort of was manageable to just go full gas from the beginning. So I tried really hard to put the hammer down early on
mm,
and get going, and did open up a little bit of a gap early on, not a lot. I think I was out to maybe 6/10 or something like that, but Cam was he rode really, really well, and he closed the gap back down again. Yeah, like I said, it come down to 0.1 or 0.2 or something, and
mm.
on my pit board they had +0, so I was just thinking, oh, he's all over the back of me, and it was like that.
Yep.
It was like that for the rest of the race. You know what I mean? For the last probably 6 laps or something. So yeah, I kind of just kept trying to ride as hard as I could, but without making mistakes. So I was probably not
Yeah.
at 100%. I might have just ridden it, I don't know, as I say, let's say 95, you know what I mean? Just to try and make sure that you make any errors, because like it's so hard to pass around there. So if Cam's going faster than what I am and catching me, he's got maybe a little bit more speed, but it's still like it's really difficult to find a way to get past. And I just
Mm,
figured, all right, well, if I don't make any mistakes, he's gonna have to try and force a pass if he wants to go past. So um yeah, managed to keep it clean and smooth, and I really think that maybe although he caught up, had more speed catching me, once he sort of got there, we sort of evened out almost. Like he sort of
mm.
reached me, but then kind of got stuck there at that speed. So yeah, fortunately, I was able to just hang on for the last few laps, and
Yeah.
sort of covered the lines on the entries into the turns on the last lap, just to make sure that he couldn't sort of get up the inside anywhere, and yeah, managed to hang on to the lead for that one. But yeah, definitely different style, different strategy, and I was, working with my pit board and trying to manage that,
Yeah.
manage that, I guess, like attack, I suppose, from Cam and trying to just make sure I don't make any mistakes so he couldn't go past.
Yeah, you could see that on the last, particularly at the last lap. Like I said, there
Mhm.
was, because your entry speed was really good in comparison, but it was you could see you taking a tighter line, more defensive line into those corners, and he had nothing but the long way to go around if he was going to do it. Um, the, the thing that jumped out at me was Ant West's line again. When we had this, we mentioned this last year. Did you
Mhm.
see his line through that bowl into onto the straight to the finish line?
Super, super tight with a lot of corner speed, and basically anybody that was in front of him, he just rode up the inside of him and made up a place like it was looked easy.
I know. That's the weird part. I look at that and I go, Is that a geometry change that they're making on the bike and there's a compromise on stability somewhere else? Or,
I
this-
think watch me personally watching it, it's like that's a strength of from a setup point of view, I think. A
yeah,
strength of their bike. Like it's super good on the edge there and particularly
mm,
that type of a corner, it's such a long time on the side of the tire. And you almost sort of like tighten the line a little bit before
mm,
you as you tighten it to get into the chicane to come back on the straight. But I wonder if maybe that's bit of a compromise then that maybe the
mm,
hard braking or the corner entry
you would
or
think
it's
so.
got to be there's got to be a compromise somewhere because it almost seems like like maybe say when you're comparing the other Yamahas maybe aren't quite as good in that particular corner but could possibly be a little bit stronger in some other areas. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just a balance.
Well, that's what went through my head. There has to be a compromise somewhere if it's not just
Mhm.
him and he's doing something different. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing I noticed was he was able to do that kind of tightish type entry on multiple corners. It wasn't just that. That was the one where he
Mhm.
passed, but you
Yeah.
could see his line even differed in some other areas. He would have been hard to pass on some of those other corners.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, yeah, yeah, very interesting. End result of race two. So we got, okay, we'll go to the very end. After the restart, we got Mike come first. You got a first. Cam Dunker only 0.11 behind you. Like it was pretty close. Ant West, 3.5 seconds behind. And he got ahead of Troy Herfoss at one point. But he was like looking at the rides. The person who battled the most was Ant was the one. He was fighting the whole time and passing Ducatis. He must have got a buzz out of that. Um, and we had Troy fourth and Josh fifth again. So the end result of the weekend was you come in first with 51 points. So you got the maximum points. Cam Dunker 40, Ant West 35, Troy 35 as well, and Josh Waters 32. So you picked up, what is that, 16 points on him. And that now positions you, Josh is 338 points, you're 288. So that puts you 50 points behind. So mathematically, you still got a chance.
Yeah, by 1 point.
One,
1 point.
you need a
Hang
good
on.
weekend. You need a good weekend.
The best weekend I've ever had.
Well,
And
you
Josh
just had
have the
one.
worst weekend he's ever had, maybe.
Well, you just both need the same weekend you just had.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, or no, you don't. He
no.
does. He needs the worst weekend, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, 2 points, and he's got it.
Yep.
Anyway, next round is we're back to the bend.
Yes.
So, what are your prospects and thoughts about the bend? Does this
Yeah, it's a good
favour
one.
the?
Yeah, it's a good one. Like it's again, we're probably back to being a little bit more. I'd say, again, One Raceway and Morgan Park are ones that we're got a really like we won, but we had a really good chance of winning there. It suits our bikes better, and it's a little bit harder for the Dukes to sort of maybe use their strong point of their bike. But when we go to the Tail and Bend, it gets a little bit more difficult for us there. But I
Mm,
think that last year we came away with one of the races with a win, so we were at the pointy end, sort of challenging there in the other one. So, yeah, I think that hopefully we'll be close-ish and able to challenge for a win at least. But
yeah.
yeah, I think realistically from a championship point of view, like Josh just needs to finish the races and he has the championship. And from my point of view, I need to essentially, yeah, probably just as long as I finish, then I'll hang on to second place. So,
Mm.
yeah, that's kind of the goal. Really, is just to get through that weekend with grab some points, and that'll be the championship. I think we got enough. The points were really close between me and Westy for second place heading into the One Raceway round, but because I
Yeah.
scored a couple of wins and I managed to claw back gain a few extra points there. So I think we're up around 18 or 19 points now.
19 points ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a
Brilliant.
nice.
So mathematically for him, second is a possibility as well.
Yeah, and that's where, like, if I, so long as I, I'm somewhere near the pointy end there, and
Mm.
but finished up there,
Yeah.
ideally on the podium somewhere, then we'll be right for second. So that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Cool. I do have a question about that, but I'll save it for after the next round because I don't want you to have to reveal your thoughts before the race to others.
That's all right.
Um, yeah. So mathematically, just in summary, first, second, and third are tied up. Basically, you,
Mhm.
Josh, you, and Ant West. But it's now okay. Who's going to get which of those positions?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
everything's mathematically possible.
yeah,
So fingers crossed for you, mate.
yeah. No, appreciate it.
I got one question about at the world level, and that is some big changes, in MotoGP and World Superbike. We got the goat is retiring from World Superbike. So Jonathan Ray's leaving.
Yeah,
But we've got some big changes there, and the one that jumped out at me is Toprak's going to MotoGP with Yamaha next year. And then we've got Miguel Oliveira going to BMW from MotoGP. So it's almost like we've got a swap happening in there. Um, how much of a transition is this really going to be? And you're probably the person to ask who's ridden both types of bikes for Toprak. And then how much of a transition, or is it easier for Miguel Oliveira to go back the other way?
mm. Yeah, I think for Top Rack going from World Superbike to GP's much harder, in my opinion. Like, it's just that the timing for him too is almost a little bit unfortunate because he's going to MotoGP while they're still running Michelin tires.
Yeah.
That because that makes such a big difference is the tire, right? So he's not been used to running Pirelli in World Superbike. He's going to Michelin. The
For
bikes
one
are
year.
obviously,
For
yeah,
only one
that's
year.
what I mean. And then they go back. The MotoGP is going to go to Pirelli, like a year later. So it's just a little bit unfortunate there with the timing. Because maybe if he would have went there on the year that everybody, hold on, give me 1 second. You got
You're right, mate.
a phone ringing.
All good.
Um, if he went to the MotoGP when they transitioned to Pirelli, and all the other riders there had to adjust and adapt to Pirelli, but he'd already had that sort of experience and come to it, that might make things a little bit easier for him. But I think coming to GP with the whole change with the bike, the tire,
Mm.
it'll be pretty hard. I don't doubt that he'll adapt to it. Like, he's an incredible rider,
Mm.
obviously, and he will adapt to it. But uh, yeah, I think that it'll just be a little bit harder for him. I do think in the reverse, so for Miguel going to um, World Superbike from GP to World Superbike, that uh, in the past what we've seen is those guys that have developed their skills on GP style bikes and they've transitioned to production style bikes, they've actually been able to do it quite well. Like, it's not
Mm.
that it's been easy, but they've been at, like, I don't know, for some reason GP style bikes seem to refine their skills further.
Mm.
Whether that's from the level of competition or it's the type of bike requires you to have a more sensitive sensation and feeling and requires you to refine your skills further. But they seem to, when they get on a production style bike, be super competitive straight away.
Yeah.
So I would be expecting him to, and considering that the Beamer is a competitive outfit already, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're at the front with Top Rack, so um yeah, that should make things even easier. I mean, if you've got a race winning package already, that makes it easier for you to transition as well, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, so It will be interesting though. I guess more than anything, I'm interested to see how Top Rack goes with the
Mm,
progress. It probably really just depends on how much testing time he gets. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
how much time he gets on the bike before he gets to a race. You know, like that's sort of the thing. And then it's a lot of other things as well. Like if so long as you get the right, the crew and the team that you work with, if he's working with a good crew chief that
yeah,
that makes such a big difference. Having a crew chief who
yeah,
can adapt and adjust, and the speaking the same language, all those things that can speed things up so much quicker. If there's any sort of barrier there, then that'll make things way harder. So
yeah. It'd be
I don't
interesting to see
actually.
how his style works. Like he's
Mm.
such a front end rider, he loads, man, he slams it to full lean angle so fast. Yeah, you
Yeah.
notice that he gets it to the lean, and that
Yep.
seems to be the standout. And then his braking control
Yeah.
is phenomenal. So it'd be interesting to see how that works on the GP bike.
Yeah, to see whether it does work or whether he has to readjust and find a different
Yeah,
way to make it go fast. It'll be yeah,
yeah,
because I mean, I think that the strong sort of having a strong on the braking and a strong entry and that type of thing, like as a skill set that he has, like let's say for example with Pekka, I know that like he's having a shocker this year and whatnot, but like the round at Motegi
mm,
that he had where the bike was working really good for him, and in the past years when he was comfortable on the bike, that was the way that he was making up time, was being super strong
yeah.
on the brake and the corner entry, and that's how he was able to find speed and go faster. So I wonder if that'll be sort of a similar thing for Top Rack.
Well, that's what it seemed to me. There's a similar style, and with
Mm.
Pecco, as you say, it's the same type of brake and everything, but it definitely hasn't worked for Pecco this year. He was kind of
No.
out of control there on his braking for a while, and then in Japan it came good again,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then so he was back, and then he's not back again. So I think
Yeah, poor guy.
everyone's heads exploding on that one.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know what's going on.
anyway, well, listen, mate, I've taken enough of your time. You got to get back to your golf practice for your other occupation. But thanks for popping in and giving us your insights as usual, mate. And we will wish you the best, and we'll be following what happens at the next round at the Bend. So good luck.
Thanks, East, mate. Appreciate it.